Hello students, once again I welcome all of you on this online teaching platform called Learning Management System introduced by Savitribai Phule Pune University Pune and Maratha Vidya Prasarak Samajaj Srimati Vimlaben Khimji Tejukaya Arts, Science and Commerce College Deolali Camp Nasik. I am Dr. Kiran Rakibe from the Department of English. Today we are going to talk about the one act play. We are going to discuss the one act play called The Monkey's Paw, written by Jacob. Now, before we start with today's discussion, let us see what we had discussed during the previous session. Students, in the last session, we talked about one act play as a literary form. What are the features of one act play as a special or individual literary genre? After talking about it, we talked about the history of one act play, how one act play came in existence as a literary form, how one act play was not a special literary form, rather it was just taken as a story from the other major parts and they were written merely as the curtain raisers or the after pieces. But after getting the popularity, the one act play became as an individual literary genre. After talking about it, we also discussed various elements of one act play like character, setting, plot, conflict and so on. So this was what we discussed during the last session. What we are going to discuss in today's session in the form of session agenda. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about The Monkey's Paw as a one act play. After talking about it, we are going to discuss the story of the play. What is the story of one act play, The Monkey's Paw? After talking about the story, we are also going to talk about the importance of setting of the play. How setting of this particular play plays a major role in understanding the one act play. Then we are also going to talk about the theme of the play, and towards the end of the session, we are going to discuss the overall discussion of the play, what the play is all about. Now, let us see the learning objectives of today's session. What you are supposed to understand, you are supposed to learn towards the end of today's session in the form of learning objectives. Now, towards the end of today's lecture, you will be able to understand setting as an important element. How setting of a play, setting of the one act play plays an important role in understanding the overall one act play. After it, you will also be able to understand the story of this particular play, the story of The Monkey's Paw, this one act play. Then you will also be able to understand the theme of the play, how the theme of the play is a very crucial one in understanding this particular play. Now let us see The Monkey's Paw. Now this Monkey's Paw, which is prescribed as a one act play in your text, it's written by W. Jacobs. Now this particular one act play was not written as a one act play. As we have already discussed earlier, the one act plays were not written as an individual literary genre. Rather, they were written as either the curtain raisers or after the pieces. That is to say, before the actual play was performed on the stage, before the full length play was performed on the stage in the theatre, some small entertaining pieces were performed, either at the beginning of the play or towards the end of the play. Now those short performances which were performed either before the original play or after the play, they were called as the curtain raisers. If the short entertaining performances were played or performed before the play, they were known as the curtain raisers, because before the curtain was raised for the original play, those shorter entertaining pieces were performed. They were called as the curtain raisers. And if those small or the shorter performances were presented after the original play, after the full length play, they were known as after pieces. So this particular one act play, The Monkey's Paw, it was not written as a one act play, rather it was written as the curtain raiser. This monkey's paw was this was used to perform in the theaters before the full length plays. Gradually what happened, instead of the original play, the full length play, this shorter piece which was presented there for the sake of entertainment started getting more popularity than the full length play. And now when the authors came to know that these shorter pieces can be written and they can be read and enjoyed, they are enjoyed by the readers or they are enjoyed by the people in the theater, then some writers started writing one-act plays. This is how this monkey's paw later on was written as a one-act play. Now this one-act play, if we look at the story or the theme of the play, we come to know that it has the horror story, because this play is based on one character's the character which has three wishes. The person who is having the dried up monkey's paw in a hand, he can get his three wishes fulfilled, and usually the third wish of that person is for the death. So the entire play is moves around this particular theme, and therefore the theme or the mood of the play is based on the horror. Then the paw that grants three wishes. The play has a small dried up monkey's paw which has the ability to grant three wishes of a person. And among these three wishes, as I have already told you, the last wish of the person who is having that paw in hand is for the death, for either for his own death or for someone else's death. And therefore, this particular idea of wishing for the death makes the play as a horror play. Now, as I have already told you that setting plays very important role. Since this monkey's paw has the story which is based on some horror event, the author has selected the particular setting which adds the extra mood, the element of horror in the story. For example, here the author has used the setting, that means Mr. and Mrs. White who are having their house on the outskirts of the city. All right. So it is away from the locality, nobody is there, no other houses are there, and since it is on the outskirts of the city, out of the town, and the road which moves goes to that house, their bungalow, is also very lonely. It is the rainy season again, and when the play opens, it is the night plus heavy rain is going on, and when the window is open, the description is given. Through the windows, the person can view the view of what we can say that cemetery is seen there. Graveyard can be seen from the window. So all these things during the description, when the setting is discussed by the author, all these elements are discussed there, and automatically the night, the lonely house, then the muddy road, pretty old house, it is a heavy rain, and the graveyard. All these things add the mood of horror in the story. So this setting plays very important role, because when that major is narrating the story and he is talking about the wishes, even the last wish of Mr. White, his wish for bringing back his son to life. At that time also the setting plays very important role, because their house is not far away, or it's for some kilometer away from their house, and Mrs. White says that he is coming there, and so that adds extra element of horror in the story. Now, after talking about it, let us see the characterization in the play. What are the characters? Which characters play important role in the story? There are 4 major characters in the story. Apart from these 4 characters, there are 2 or 3 minor characters, but they are having very minor role. But these 4, Mr. White, Mrs. White, their son Herbert, and Sergeant Major. These are the major characters. Mr. and Mrs. White, they are having the happy family. They are having their only son, who is Herbert, who works in one of the factories, and Sergeant Major, who is a retired army officer. He is a friend of Mr. White, and it is Sergeant Major who brings that paw at their house. It is the sergeant who introduces that monkey's paw, which has an ability to fulfill the wishes of three wishes of a person. So these are the four major characters in the play. Apart from that, we have other characters. Two minor characters are also there, but they are very minor. So for the study, these are the four major characters. Now let us see the summary. What is the story? What the play is actually all about? Now this monkey's paw was written as a curtain raiser. As I have already told you that it was written as a short piece for a performance for the entertainment sake, and it was popular as a curtain raiser. And when it got popularity as a curtain raiser, then later on it was converted into a one-act play. Now it is a story, it is a horror play with all the elements of one-act play. It has a good characterization. As we have already discussed, there are four major characters. All the characters are correlated to one another. Setting, very important. The entire scene, the entire play takes place at the house of Mr. and Mrs. White. Alright. Setting is very important. Even the time, 3 unities have been observed here. The time, the first scene takes place at night inside the house of Mr. and Mrs. White, and the second scene, followed scene of the followed day on the garden of Mr. and Mrs. White. Then we have the conflict between not between two characters, but it is the conflict in the mind of Mr. and Mrs. White, that whether to ask for the 3 wishes, whether to ask for a wish, first wish, after they get it fulfilled, whether they should ask for the second wish, and again the ultimate wish is desired by Mr. White against the wish of Mrs. White. Now it is the setting, as I told you, that setting plays very crucial role in it. The setting of the play, we have already discussed about it. It is the old house which is on the outskirts of the city, inhabited area, not approached by many people. The road that goes to their house, it is also very muddy, old one, and it is on the other side of the road. There is the graveyard, because graveyard also plays very important role. After Herbert's death, he is buried there in the graveyard, and Mr. and Mrs. White, they are waiting, particularly Mrs. White, who is waiting for her son, and she looks through the window, peeps through the window towards the that place, that graveyard where their son was buried, and waiting for the son. So all these things introduce the element of horror in it, and setting plays a very crucial or vital role in understanding the play. On the basis of all these things, we just had a short discussion about the play. We are going to discuss the play in detail in the next session. Scene wise, we are going to talk about it, we are going to discuss about it, but whatever the discussion we had so far, on the basis of that discussion, here is the session assignment. I have given 5 questions here, multiple choice questions. MCQs are there. Go through the questions, select an appropriate answer. Select an appropriate option, and send your assignments, send your answers on my mail ID, that is rakibe.kiran@mvpspktcollege.ac.in, or you can also send the assignments on my personal ID, that is kiranrakibe1575@gmail.com. Thank you very much.